I was watching a movie and I turned to my ex-girlfriend and I paused the movie and I wrote a business plan for a bedsheets company that night. 3 months later, my team and I all got laid off. I was 27. I had no family commitments, no mortgage. I decided that now was a good time. Just stuck out to me like a big red button. So I pressed it and incorporated.
Wow.
We collected 11,000 emails, which resulted in about $45,000 on day one. And then that snowballed into the $284,000 over the course of the campaign.
Today's guest is Colin, founder of Sheets Giggles, who went from crowdfunding $284K for funny bed sheets to selling over 1 million in just 1 year. Can you take us back to the moment you decided to launch Sheets Giggles and what sparked that initial idea?
Sure. It was 8 years ago, which is crazy. I have two founder stories. One is smart and one is really dumb. The smart one is that bed sheets is a massive, highly fragmented market with no brand differentiation, no loyalty, no visual differentiation. I could create the most absurd, different brand in the market very easily. No switching costs, easy to peel off customers, and it was heavily physical retail, so I can bring it online with a direct-to-consumer model. That's the business model. Makes a lot of sense. I was watching a movie when I came up with the idea, probably about 8 years ago now, summer of 2017. And I was watching a movie called War Dogs with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill. And Miles Teller's character is selling bed sheets out of the back of a pickup truck. And it drove me so crazy. He ended up having to burn all of his inventory because nobody would buy them. And I turned to my ex-girlfriend and I said, "This is ridiculous." I'm like, he didn't do any research, understanding of demographics. Like, he has no idea his go-to-market strategy. Paused the movie and I wrote a business plan for a bedsheets company that night. Whenever I write a business plan, I always buy a domain. So I bought sheetsgiggles.com because I thought it was a funny name for a bedsheets company. 3 months or 4 months later, in September 2017, my team and I all got laid off at my last company. I decided I was 27 years old. I had no family commitments, no mortgage. I was this loose free agent. And I decided that now was a good time with the connections I had and reputation I had built in Colorado to start my own business. At all of this, I looked at a bunch of different business models, a bunch of different ideas, and my business plan for Sheets and Giggles just stuck out to me like a big red button. So I pressed it and incorporated.
Wow, I love that. Movies give us so much inspiration. A lot of really great founders, like everything that they have comes from some kind of movie and they're inspired by something. It's really great that like you're just like very authentic about that.
I think that part of my brand, with both my personal brand, which I don't really, it's interesting. I know I have a personal brand. I don't think about it. I just say, do what I want. And it's really nice to just have this kind of me vibe with everything I do. And Sheets and Giggles is very much like the best parts of me. It's funny without being neurotic, smart, but not like any of these other. I'm really grateful and feel lucky to have such a fun brand that I can be authentically myself with and just be honest about the founding story.
Definitely. So you raised 200K on Indiegogo. What do you think made your crowdfunding campaign so successful?
It was very successful compared. There were two other bedsheet brands that launched that same day. One of them made $15,000, the other $50,000, and we made nearly $300,000. The difference is preparation. I knew my friends and family, even though they love me, were not going to buy $100,000 worth of bed sheets. It was my goal. I knew if I needed $100,000, you need about 30,000 of it on day one. So about 30% of your goal on day one. If you need $30,000 on day one at a $100 average order value, you need about 300 customers on day one. If your email list converts at a 3%, you need 10,000 emails to guarantee 300 customers, to guarantee a $30,000 day one, to guarantee a $100,000 campaign. So when you work backwards from the goal and it becomes very clear, okay, I need 10,000 emails, then you collect them. That's what we did. We collected 11,000 emails. We set up landing pages. We ran ads to those landing pages. We did great photography, videography, wrote great copy. We're very persuasive about why these are the best sheets you'll ever buy. We converted 46% of all people that landed on those pages. Huge conversion rate for email capture. We ended up converting our email list the day that we launched at about 4.5%. Which sure enough resulted in about $45,000 on day one. And then that snowballed into the $284,000 over the course of the campaign.
So if you were to launch this again right now in the age of AI, how would you do it differently?
I don't know if I would do it differently because I would have an AI chat bot on my website that would answer questions for people 24/7. I would probably use AI for my customer care responses, at least the first draft, to save time. I would not write my copy with AI. I would not create my brand voice with AI. I would not do my initial images with AI. I would still do those in person with my friends. It was a fun time in life. And that enthusiasm and energy and electricity, yeah, I could type in a prompt to AI and create those images, but there's something that bleeds off the page when it's real people. I really wouldn't change much. I hired an intern to help me. I have ADHD, like I mentioned. So I hired an intern to help me with a blank page problem that I've always had a problem with. When I'm staring at a blank page, I'll do anything except get started writing. It's so hard. And so I basically had them send me email drafts to send people, and they were terrible. I just start editing and tearing it up. But I needed that initial words on the page. AI might be helpful for that, for image editing, maybe some video. My video cost me $3,000 for the crowdfunding campaign. That was a small amount in the grand scheme, but at that time, a huge amount. That was the lowest you can go. I don't even know if you could make a video for $3,000 today. I had to find a friend willing to fly to Denver. I paid for his plane tickets. He charged me the lowest he would. He was a great guy named Chase. We had friends, free actors come in for the day, script written and everything. It was really a team effort, even though I didn't have a team of just friends coming together to help. Yeah, I don't know how much I would change if I would do that differently. I'm the personality of the brand and I needed to speak directly to the camera. I don't know, not a ton would unlock a lot of growth after the crowdfund, but I don't know about during the crowdfund is so personal. And that one-to-one relationship with your backer who's buying something that doesn't exist, may not exist, may fail, may be a waste of money. You have to convince them you're someone they should back. And I think AI is probably counterproductive for that.
So AI is definitely useful once you have that founder vision and that team and that enthusiasm. AI enhances whatever you have.
AI can be very amplifying. I can upload years of content for the brand, videos, photos, and to get new suggestions from AI in terms of let's make a video to do this, I'm going to do this. I can use Veo 3 and do some incredible prompts and come up with some videos that I could have never made years ago for pennies. My customer care is faster, better, with fewer people, less expensive. I used to have 3 full-time graphic designers. I don't need that anymore. Some of this is philosophically, ethically very gray for me. I don't like that we live in a society where those jobs and the value of those jobs can become more and more concentrated and privatized. But at the same time, we're in this game of prisoner's dilemma and this really awful sort of game theory where if you don't do it, your competition is going to do it and you're going to get out hustled with the AI. I wish we were in a culture that said, hey, how amazing is it that AI is automating 30-40% of work? Let's move towards a 3 or 4 day work week. It's like, hey, AI is automating this person on your team's work. You need to let them go. It's very frustrating and challenging for me as someone who cares about people. And that's one of the reasons why I've started this resume business on the other side, which I don't know if we want to talk about, but I get to help people with AI find jobs. That's been wonderful.
It's true. There's this huge dilemma, and it would be a good society if everyone could work 3 to 4 days a week and let AI do the heavy lifting.
I think it'd be a great society. I would love to live in that society. Instead, we need project managers to be more productive. We need engineers to double the code they're doing. Or maybe they could spend more time with their families and split the maybe they could be 50% more productive and work a few hours and maybe we can meet in the middle. But the way culture, it's so toxic. You have to do more. I think it's unhealthy and not sustainable. The amount of stuff that you and I get done in a week versus the amount of stuff that somebody got done in a week 30, 40, 50 years ago is insane. And has that really translated towards a better quality of life? I think in some ways, yeah, but like in a lot of ways, not really.
Definitely. There always needs to be a balance and everyone needs to get involved. Otherwise, it's one person does it and one person doesn't.
And it's it becomes more, I think in America, we will struggle with this more than other countries. I made a video about this recently. Does Thailand have universal health care for people or no?
I think we have something along those.
In America, your healthcare is completely tied to your employment. And so we have this double whammy of disincentives for the companies where, yes, if you bring on AI, you can shed payroll, but also you can shed payroll tax, which is the only tax burden that companies really have nowadays because they avoid income tax. So they can shed payroll, they shed payroll tax, and they shed the expense of healthcare benefits for their employees. And now in America, you have a situation where companies are seeing what they can do with AI because AI doesn't need healthcare. It doesn't need to pay payroll tax, and the salary is basically non-existent. And so you get this triple disincentive that's very unique versus other cultures on the healthcare side of things.
I see. So you mentioned that humor is a huge competitive moat for you. Can you elaborate on how it has helped your brand stand out?
Yeah, for sure. The betting industry is boring. It's like white sheets, white walls, French press coffee, fern on the bedside. I've always found the advertising in the bedding space to be condescending. It's, don't you want your life to look like this? Don't you want to be in bed with like your partner and like having fun and it's just a little, it's so tired. One of the rules I had when I started the company is if it's been done before, I don't want to do it. And so anytime somebody brought me an idea, I was like, has this been done before? Is this something we've seen elsewhere? That was a big rule for me. The humor of the brand really stood out like a lightning rod. One of our initial images, I'm a brand identity guy, so I knew that we were a jester brand from the start. I'm a jester, like I am who I am. And so I knew that it was going to be a jester archetype. One of our first ads was me in bed with my two friends, Tony and Dan. We had avocado face masks on, drinking red wine, talking. It's a funny image. It's on our website in a couple of places. And even 8 years later, I still use that image. It got shared on Facebook organically 10,000 times when we launched. That was when that was like a shoot back in 2017, 2018. Like that was a huge deal to have. It wasn't mega viral like everybody saw it, but it was people sending it to their friends and being like, look at how hilarious this is. And that was great because we got comments from people who weren't our target audience, let's say, and they were angry about the image, telling us that we were going to go to hell and that we were awful. It gave us an opportunity to go back and forth with them and be like, does God not like exfoliating? What do you answer every comment myself on social media? Is something I still do nearly a decade later. It's not a trust thing. Other people can do it. But there's so many situations where like comments are like ambiguous or challenging that I want to make sure that we do the brand voice well and responding to those people. And every interaction is an opportunity for a sale. And like 10 times more people will see the interaction versus the one that you're replying to. And so I always want to make sure that the brand is represented well on social media, that we're funny first.
So you went viral organically.
Yeah.
You're not a fan of AI generated comments people are doing.
It's like soulless. When you look behind the eyes of an AI generated person, there's something missing in the eyes. And that's really become my giveaway. Not the hands, not anything. Are the eyes dead? And they really are dead. It's like, it's not living matter, just this soulless creation. I'm not a fan of it because the consumer isn't a fan of it. If I don't want to do things the average person isn't excited about, that's my gut. There's a non-human AI video that I think is really cool. I saw this cool IKEA ad the other day that was like a box that exploded into a fully made bedroom they made with a Deo free prompt, right? That's awesome. Like those creative ideas that don't involve human faces are fun and exciting because it's different and it's cool and there's no limits to what you can do. But I think that when you're like taking away the jobs of spokesmen, actors, influencers, people who craft their whole life and profession around doing a certain thing, and you substitute it with some soulless creature that's like talking with dead eyes to the camera, I don't think that's compelling at all for people.
What were some of the biggest challenges in your first year of sales?
In the first year, everything was broken. We had this huge defect issue with our sheeting. That was so awful. We had to replace a lot of orders. We had packaging. Just we did this white packaging I thought was really nice. Just got beat to hell by FedEx and UPS, just completely obliterated. I had to hire people, I didn't know who to hire, hired friends. I worked in the warehouse myself. I shipped our first 4,000 boxes by myself and rented 1,000 square feet of warehouse space from another company in Colorado. Shout out to Shinesty. It was very chaotic. I won first place at Denver Startup Week during our first year. I got into Techstars, which is like an accelerator program for startups. I got on stage on demo day. I pitched my heart out. I brought the house down. People were laughing like hyenas. And raised I think 1.3 million coming out of Techstars. And that was when we really took off. The 3 months in Techstars in early 2019, about a year and a half after I started the company, which is when I started paying myself. I didn't pay myself for the first 18 months. I had a second job on the side while I was starting the company. And that was, I think the 3 months we were in Techstars, we went from like to 60,000 to 120,000. And that was the big, when I got on stage at demo day, that was the big, here's the curve we're doing. People were like, wow. I think we were the only company in the class that had revenue at that point, significant revenue, 7-figure run rate. And then our first 3 Q1s were crazy. So Q1 2019, 2020, 2021, the first 3 Q1s of the business, we did 700 grand. No, sorry. We did 200 grand, 700 grand, and then 2.2 million. Crazy. That was like, you're in this 24-month period, you're literally 11xing on the business. And it's so challenging to forecast inventory, find cash, do the manufacturing, correctly detail the SKUs, the colors, sizes, be proactive with customer care and let people know about delays and shipments. And you're building your website and you're trying to build your SEO and brand reputation. And COVID hits, huge logistics delays, and shipping goes up 10x and freight goes up 10x and containers go up 10x. And my COGS went up by 50%. The first few years of the business were just a absolute bear, and it's been really challenging. I will not sugarcoat it. This is hard.
Definitely. And I'm sure mentoring at Techstars helped you a lot. Does this mean other founders should seek a mentor?
I did Techstars in 2015 as a 25-year-old. I drove down from Seattle. My friend Jackie, she got into Techstars with her company. And she called me and she said, hey, we got in. I had written the business plan with her at my coffee table maybe 2 years prior. We were friends from high school. It was a wearable product that was like Fitbit, but if you pressed it, it would have an emergency button for young women while running or in college. She's like, hey, we got into Techstars. I was like, oh my God. And she said, do you want to work for me? I can pay $1,600 a month. I drove from Seattle to Boulder and I slept on her couch for 3 months. And that was tough for my neck. We worked 20-hour days nonstop. It was crazy. A time in life where you really wanted to prove yourself, do your best work and take every advantage that you could. And I got some mentors that summer that totally changed my life. Joe and Adam and Ed, those guys have just become like mentors, investors, brothers to me, and father figures. 2 of them also invested in Sheets and Giggles 4 years later. These mentors changed my life in terms of like how I thought about different things, problems, how they educated me on real world business solutions that I was having. In particular is getting Ed. He's so good at the Socratic method of asking questions, leading you to where you need to be. A few years later, they invested in Sheets and Giggles, and they've been wonderful advisors and investors. So I would recommend everyone who seeks mentorship. The question is, how do you get it? A lot of people who don't go through Techstars really struggle with, how do I find mentors? And the reality is that people will work with people they like and actively avoid working with people they don't. I've moved to avoid paying Comcast before. And I would just say to go to meetups in your industry, spaces where you can meet other entrepreneurs, investors, other founders. You can cold message people on LinkedIn, of course, but offer to buy them lunch, offer to buy them breakfast, offer to get a beer, get a coffee, but always pay, always say, if you can meet with me, I'd love to buy you lunch. Very few people say no to a free lunch. It's human to grab a burger with you. I don't know you, but you seem like a nice kid. And if you just simply use your time to ask them questions about themselves. If you've never read Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People, it's an incredible book. I don't necessarily try to abide by it, but I do remember the rules. People love talking about themselves, just like I'm doing now. If you take somebody at the lunch and you ask them about themselves, where they're from, what they do, their careers, their kids, they will open up and tell you about their life. Ask them questions about their business, what they do professionally. And at the end of the lunch, say, hey, this was incredibly valuable. I got so much out of this. If you have time, I'd love to make this once a month thing or once weekly to start. Maybe we could start weekly and then go monthly, but I'm starting my own business and I could use someone to just pick their brain on some problems when I come up with them. That type of interaction is very natural for me to think about those pieces fitting together. But a lot of people are just like, they don't even know where to begin. I've given this advice to classes at universities. There's been 2 students who have asked me to buy me lunch afterwards. And I don't know if I'm getting the message across or not, but like I've become a mentor to both. Now they've had businesses that they've started and they call me whenever they have questions. And I mentor a lot of companies. I try to pay it forward.
Wow. That means that we should just buy people lunch, like especially the people we admire. So I wish I knew that since uni. Why didn't you speak at my uni?
It's not hard. If you're likable, people will. And look, if people don't want to be your mentor, you might have to look in the mirror. But with Techstars in particular, it's a lot of hard work. But to have that immediately as like a signal, if you can get into some type of positive signal, it doesn't have to be Techstars. It can be an incubator, an accelerator, it can be a program, something that you can say like, I'm going through blank and I need advice. I need a seasoned mentorship. People will be more inclined to spend their time if they know you're legitimate. Colorado, where I cut my teeth with Techstars, has a tremendous, amazing mantra from Techstars, which is give first. And it's not about giving back. It's not about paying it forward. It's about giving first with no expectation of return, no expectation of equity, no expectation of advisor shares, no expectation of being an investor. If someone asks for your help or doesn't ask, you go and offer it. That's the culture in Colorado. And it has been so important and impactful for me in my career. And that's what I've done is now that I'm 35 and got a couple companies under my belt and have a lot of years of experience, I actually will volunteer to speak at incubators, accelerators, universities, business programs. And some of them say no thanks. Others say absolutely. I give my time and mentorship to people who maybe are too shy to ask for it or don't know they can.
I do realize that the people who are the best networkers are actually the people who are not exactly networking. They're just giving freely. And I realize that's the
Networking
secret.
sucks. Yeah, no one likes networking. I saw this great cartoon the other day. It was like this demon talking to the devil. And he was like, the devil was like reading a clipboard of ideas and he's, what's networking? And the demon is, it's like friendship, but with the expectation of getting something in return. No one wants to do it. And everybody feels compelled to. And the devil's, wow, that's brilliant. And the demon's, I know, right? Let's make it super important. I hate networking. I avoid networking events for the most part. I go to things that seem interesting and fun to me and talk to people like humans, like you would talk to your friend. People respond extremely positively to that.
What advice would you give to founders looking to disrupt traditional industries?
First off, it's really hard to disrupt traditional industries because they have all the capital. They know all the politicians. They write all the regulations and they will do anything legal or illegal if they think they can get away with it to crowd you out and prevent you from getting a foothold in that industry. So that's number one, is disrupting an industry is really hard. And I would not do it unless you were obsessed and knew you had a better way the world needed to see. The second thing I would advise is that to use, if you do get down this path, to use your natural skills and advantages to the fullest. So what is it about you that is fundamentally different than the entrenched legacy players in these different industries? Now, there's things that everyone will be able to do that are advantages. You know, startups are able to do things that don't scale well, right? You can use one-on-one time with customers. obsessively focus on customer experience and talk to people in a really different way that big corporations can't. You can have personal touches on your product that surprise and delight people that are maybe not margin intensive, but that are meaningful. And so there's a lot of things that you can do that big companies can't. But then there's that really deeply personal thing that's what are you best in the world at? You have to ask yourself that. I think, to speak hubristically, I am the most persuasive person I know in the way I write and speak. There's a rhythm to the way that I speak that a lot of people don't have. I think that oration and writing is very rhythmic. It's like dancing, it's like singing. And I think I have that. And so if the spoken and written word is what I do best, then I need to spend a lot of time speaking and writing. The problem with AI, as a quick sidebar, is that it actually removes it not only does it raise the floor on speaking and writing, but I use it degrades my number one advantage. And so I can't use it like other people can because I'm a worse writer when I use AI. And so that's actually interesting for me. Ask yourself what you're best at and hone in there. Then try hard to have something fundamentally different about what you're doing, the product, the process, the distribution. But it has to be, you have to usually have three things that are different. You can't just go to market on one point of differentiation. You have to have three really strong points of differentiation, at least.
You say a lot about how to be yourself, right? So that means that the person who does want to be successful in business, they need to have this inner work done before they get into business. Not everyone knows what they're best at and who they truly are, right?
Just get fired a few times. You'll do a lot of introspection about what's wrong with me, what am I good at. I've been fired or laid off 3 times in my career. I've discovered that I'm a very bad employee. I don't follow marching order well. I always ask why and say no. I don't take abuse from toxic bosses. Life is so short. I'm 35, about to go through my midlife crisis. I'm very self-aware, I think, of where I'm at and what I'm trying to accomplish in life. I think you just have to be true to yourself and the chips will fall. I feel bad for kids in their 20s who are graduating into this job market.
Yeah.
And the one good thing about AI that I'll say is making it the ability for solopreneurs, so one-man entrepreneur, one-man companies, one-woman companies, is through the roof right now. Like the things you can do with writing, graphic design, video editing,
Yeah.
executive assistant stuff, calendaring. You can create a website now with just your thoughts. You don't need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript to make things blink. No, you just tell it and it does it. And that is so cool and so incredibly transformative. And I don't think this window will stay open forever.
Thanks for coming on the podcast and sharing your insights.
Yeah, sure. I hope it was great. Thank you
Yeah.
for asking me a question and letting me go on
Thank
my
you.
tangents.
If Colin's episode helped you believe in your idea, Ronnie's will help you believe in your process. Click here to see how founders evolve from spark to strategy.